Hello and welcome back to Eurovision in Focus, the series where we take a deep dive into the Eurovision Song Contest. In this episode we'll be taking a look back at some of the postcards from the past decade to determine how to make the perfect postcard. The 40-second video clips shown before each act has become a much-loved segment of Eurovision since they were first introduced in the 70s. They are often used to showcase the host country and its culture, or to help the audience get to know the artist better. But what is needed to actually create a good set of postcards? Let's find out. As previously mentioned, postcards can be used to show off the host country to the millions watching around the world. In 2018, Portugal took the opportunity of showcasing their own country and its culture, which, as this was their first time hosting the contest, was really their best opportunity to do so. The artists would step through a door situated in an open space, and then go off to do some Portuguese cultural activity. At the end, they would take a selfie. Take the Czech Republic's Miklos Josef. He went to the village of Pedent to participate in a traditional carnival. The door and selfie moments were interesting additions that enhanced the postcards. Without them, they would have been quite unimaginative. Another popular option for broadcasters is to use the postcards to introduce the upcoming artist to us, especially for the benefit of more casual viewers. Sometimes they're in their own country, while others they're in the host country. In 2016, artists were featured in their home country doing various activities in locations that were part of their story. For example, Joe and Jake from the United Kingdom played football and rugby, the national sports of England and Wales respectively, performed at Liverpool's Cavern Club. Jake had been a finalist in a contest held there, and stood in the Vale of Clwyd in North Wales, the area where Joe was from. Those postcards were a simple concept, yet were very well executed. We learned a little more about their hobbies and interests, where they came from, or their family and friends, and the audience may even have found common ground between themselves and some of the artists, over shared hobbies, for instance. 2019 saw postcards that did many of Israel's stunning natural wonders and tourist attractions. Been in a rough fun. The artist visited a location in the country, pressed a holographic play button, and then joined dancers to get their groove on. A number of different styles such as hip-hop, parkour, modern dance and ballet. The play button also fit in with that year's artwork of triangles and stars. In this example, Luke Haney, who represented Switzerland, was at the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra in Tel Aviv. Haney and 5 women in denim put on a funky dance to a rather cheeky sounding tune of what sounds like a saxophone. 2019 are, in my opinion, one of the best set of postcards we've seen at Eurovision. The Zuka concept has been done to death, shooting in amazing locations across the country, but put a unique spin on it. Many of the settings were creatively used for choreography, and it was also nice to have different music tracks for each of the postcards, as typically they all have the same or similar music. Postcards from 2014 remain a fan favourite to this day. It involved the artists making their flag in a creative way. The UK's Molly set about on a rather ambitious one. Filmed in London, she rolled out large sheets of white paper, onto which she guided red buses and vans. Then, fans dressed in blue ponchos swarmed into the gaps. Molly then takes a picture from above in a cherry picker. These were certainly an interesting set. No two postcards were the same, as each country had their own ideas. Granted, some were more creative than others, but the overall concept was great, and the host broadcaster DR managed to seamlessly blend the recreated flag into that year's artwork, a diamond. The final postcards concept we're going to consider is that of 2021. Because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Dutch team were presented with some unique challenges. International travel restrictions meant that neither delegations nor a production crew could travel abroad to shoot, so they came up with a unique concept that was very creative and innovative. A mini house was set up in locations across the Netherlands. For each postcard, the house was filled with items and displays that helped the audience get to know more about the artist, be it their achievements, hobbies, or even pets. Then the artist himself would appear as a hologram, either posing or engaging in some activity. The postcard ended with a coloured beam of light making its way from the location to the Rotterdam Ahoy. The difficult circumstances obviously forced creative thinking and new ideas, but nevertheless, the postcards from 2021 are among the best we've ever seen at the contest. Not only did they incorporate new digital techniques, but they also combined the two typical strategies of Eurovision postcards, showcasing the host country and showcasing the artist. They were also timely and relatable. Lockdowns over the previous year had meant that families across Europe had spent much more time than usual at home, being with loved ones, including pets, and cultivating hobbies. So, having reviewed some of the postcards from recent years, let's return to the entire point of this video. What makes the perfect postcards? What are the secrets to crafting the perfect concept? As I see it, there are three things: a focus, a theme, and creativity. Firstly, focus. Do you want to use the postcards as a de facto tourism advert, or as an opportunity to tell the artist's stories? Or maybe, as the Dutch did in 2021, both. For countries that haven't hosted for a long time, if at all, or whose culture is maybe less well known by the average person, the former may be an attractive option. The audience can learn a little more about the host country's geography, history and culture. For countries that have hosted recently, the second option is probably better, so as to avoid looking a bit too self-centred by constantly trying to show themselves off. Another example of when this is better is with the BBC hosting in 2023. They selected a concept that features the artists in their own country. If you ask me, this was a smart move, as they avoid potential accusations of promoting the UK too much over Ukraine. Next is a theme. What's the element that will tie all the postcards together? Is it a flag, a door, a house, dance, or a drone called Leo? The concept needs to be relatively simple. The postcards are only 40 seconds long, so overcomplicating them would just be counterproductive. At the same time, you don't want them to be so basic that they're boring. Lastly, creativity. You want to do something that has never been done before, and ideally be a step up from previous efforts. Producers think outside the box. They can try new techniques and tell stories in new ways. So that's been a little trek down memory lane. At the time of making this video, we get to learn full details about what the 2023 postcards will be like, but from what we do already know, they seem promising.